I bought an abandoned house at auction for just $100. Everyone told me I was wasting my money, but while renovating the place, I discovered a hidden room sealed inside the walls. Behind it sat $3 million in cash and a dusty envelope with my name written on the front. My hands were shaking when I opened it. Inside was only one word. The moment I read it, I realized the money was the least important thing hidden in that room. The word was daughter. I sat down on the concrete floor and read it again. It was my father's handwriting. I would have recognized it anywhere, even after 11 years of trying not to. He disappeared the spring I turned 19. No fight, no warning, no note. I came home one afternoon and he was gone. My mother spent a week crying and then told me he had died in a car accident in another state. She had documents. I was young and wrecked, and I believed her. I spent my 20s slowly reassembling myself, built a career in interior design. By 30, I had gotten used to the empty space he'd left in my life. I didn't forgive him. I didn't know there was anything to forgive. The house came into the picture because I was out of money and nearly out of options. My business partner had walked off with everything we'd built together. The client list, the vendor relationships, 6 years of professional reputation. A non-compete clause left me with nothing I could legally use. I'd been living on savings for 4 months when I found the tax lien auction online at 2 in the morning. The house was a 3-bedroom craftsman built in 1931, sitting on a quiet street in a small town 40 minutes outside the city. The minimum bid was $100. On the morning of the auction, I was the only bidder. The house had been vacant for 6 years. The porch railing had rotted through. Every window was boarded. The foundation was drowning in overgrowth. But the roofline was straight, the chimney was intact, and when I walked the rooms with a flashlight, I found original hardwood under the carpet and beadboard behind the kitchen cabinets. Something steady settled in my chest. 3 weeks into the renovation, I was working the long interior wall of the dining room when I noticed it. I always tap walls, habit from years of doing this work, and that section sounded wrong. Not hollow, denser, deliberate. My stud finder ran patterns that didn't match insulation. They matched a sealed door frame approximately 6 feet tall, 2 feet wide. I told myself it was nothing. Then I got my pry bar out. The room behind the wall was 8 feet by 6. It smelled of cedar and old metal. A bare bulb had been wired into the house's electrical system carefully and deliberately by someone who intended this room to function. The floor was clean concrete. Against the far wall sat 12 black duffel bags, stacked in a way that communicated order, someone's system, someone's intention. I sat on the floor against the door frame and didn't move for a long time. That's when I saw the envelope. It was sitting on a small wooden shelf mounted to the right-hand wall, plain white, sealed with wax. My full name written on the front in handwriting that stopped the breath in my body. I knew that handwriting. I had spent 11 years trying to forget it. The word inside was daughter. I didn't touch the money that night. I locked the room back up and sat at the kitchen table until the window went from black to gray to the flat white of early morning. Then I drove to the county records office. I needed facts before I could feel anything. The house had been owned since 1988 by a man using my mother's maiden name. I read that line twice, then again. My mother had told me my father died in a car accident in another state. She had given me paperwork. I was 23 years old and exhausted with grief, and I had not thought to verify it. He hadn't died. He had bought this house the year I was born. He had lived 37 miles from where I grew up, and he had been watching. There were photographs tucked behind the last duffel bag and a plain manila envelope with no label. Me at my kindergarten graduation in a red dress. My high school prom. The week I received my college acceptance letter. That photograph had been taken from a distance through what looked like a restaurant window. My face lit up over a phone screen. He had engineered all of it. The price, the listing, the auction date. He had arranged for this house to find me at the exact moment I had nothing left, and he had set the minimum bid at the only number he could be certain I would try. The envelope on the shelf had my name on it because he always knew I would be the one to open that wall. I stood in that room for a very long time. The money was real. $3 million was real. But my father didn't leave me a fortune. He left me a confession. Proof that all those years, from every careful distance he kept, he never once stopped being mine. I never got to tell him I found it. Full story on the channel linked below.